This is my fiance, which means she has a ring. But she has to take that ring off whenever she's doing stuff like this, or this, or this. And when the ring is off, it can get lost, which is a problem. But there is a solution. I was scrolling through Instagram one day, and then I found this. It looks good, works in a cool way, but
It's $100!
I think I have a solution. I'm an engineer, which means technically I should be able to design a cheaper solution. And like any good engineer, I'm going to start by trying to steal someone else's design. I found this design online, which looks pretty good, but whenever I showed it to my fiance, she said,
Too harsh.
so I guess now I have to redesign it. If you've never modified an STL before, it can be a little bit intimidating, but I'm going to show you how to do it. To start, you're going to download the actual file. So in this case, we're going to be starting out with typ2.stl as kind of our base. And then after that, I'm going to open up my personal favorite CAD program, which is Onshape. Inside of Onshape, we're going to create a new file, which is just a document, and I'll call that ringkeeper YT. Once we're here, all you have to do is push the little plus icon and then push import. That's going to let you select a file, which is going to be that STL we just downloaded from Printables. That's imported now, and it's going to create a new file right here that we can then click on. What you're going to see is this file here, which you can't really do much with just right off the start. If I try to create a new sketch by just pushing the sketch button here, and then trying to select this as the object to draw on, you can't do that. So a better first step is actually to create a plane on this that you can then use in order to draw all the different shapes and everything else. So I'm going to start by turning off all the other default planes. What you need to do is basically start by creating 4 different planes. How you create a plane is you click on plane, and then I'm going to do the 3-point option and select 3 different points for each of the 4 layers that you can kind of see on this. So this is the top layer right here. I selected 3 points. And then I'm going to select 3 more points that are 1 layer down. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing on the bottom of it. So selecting 3 points on the top. And then wherever it kind of chamfers down a little bit, selecting 3 more points there. And you can see on the planes that they're all separated out just a little bit. The next step I'm going to do after that is I'm going to draw the widest section of it. So selecting this top plane right here, I'm going to create a sketch, and then I'm going to push the U key, which corresponds to use project / convert. I'm then going to select all the corners that I can see that are all on this level. So right here, and then over here on the corners as well. And then 2 more, just so that I can kind of draw across, and then create, using the line tool, a path for my mirror, which is what I'm going to use in order to not have to grab every single one of these points individually. You're going to have to make sure that you're going from point to point on all this. So I just missed 1 second ago there. But once you have all this stuff connected, which I'm about to, you can then go over and actually use the mirror command to duplicate everything over. So to do that, all you have to do is draw up from the middle of the line where it has like this little box, and then you can use that as your mirror line. I'm going to then draw down from there to the middle of the other line, select the mirror tool, select a mirror line, and then you have to select all the entities you want to be mirrored, and I'll just select everything. So now you have a complete path that you can extrude, which I will do using this command. You're going to want to do new, And since we have all the different planes here, including the bottom one and the top one, we can just do up to face and then select the bottom face. So that goes all the way through. And then the opposite direction, using the second in position, you can also do up to face and then just select that very top face here. And that is now completely covering all of that. The next step is going to be adding a hole, but we have to figure out how big the chain is first. So the next step is to measure the chain to make sure it actually fits through the holes. I got this like 100 centimeter chain off of Walmart, and it's about 2.4 millimeters thick. Now that we know that the chain is about 3 millimeters, we need to add a hole that is about 3 millimeters. So I'm going to hide part 1 where we took everything from, and I'm going to just draw a circle right here in the middle of this that is 3 millimeters large. So center point circle, and then if you just go down from the middle of both of these lines, you can draw a circle that is 3 millimeters, which that is pretty large. So we're going to have to take a look at it and see if we need to make this entire structure a little bit bigger, or if there's another way to make it so that you have a little bit of space here and a little bit of strength so you can actually use this without it falling apart. With the circle taking up so much space, I think we need to make this a little bit bigger than it currently is. Right now it is 3.6 millimeters from the top to the bottom. I think we need to make this about 5 millimeters, which would be adding 0.7 millimeters to the top and to the bottom. To do that, we can go over to Search Tools and then use Move Face, select the top and bottom faces, and then do a distance of 0.7. Now that it's 5 millimeters, we can actually go ahead and cut out that hole. So going over to Sketch, we can just select this and then extrude that all the way through all. So that's looking pretty good. But now it's a little bit more boxy than I feel like I want. So I think the next step is going to be chamfering it so that it doesn't have to be taking up all this much space. It's just a little bit thicker than I think it should be. One point 1.3 millimeters of it, just to make it a little bit thinner. So taking one more line and then dragging it over here, we can then select this area after we remove the part, and you have to select it over here as well, and then just extrude that out, and you can cut it off inside of both directions. So remove, and then I'll just do symmetric through all. So now it's strong enough to hold it, but it still kind of narrows down and still looks a little bit better aesthetically. The next step is making it less harsh, like we were talking about earlier. So I'm going to select all the different corners here that I can see. Anywhere where it might be a little bit harsh, a little bit sharp on the skin whenever you're wearing it. And then I'm going to chamfer, or rather fillet, all of these different edges. So just anywhere where I could see a corner like this. And I'm going to do a radius of 2.5 for that. I've just found that it looks pretty good on something like this. So I'm liking how that looks. And the last step is going to be actually going through and chamfering it just a little bit. So clicking on chamfer, I'm going to click on the top face here, not the bottom face. We want that to lay flat on the printer, and do a distance of about 0.5. And I think that's looking really good right there. So the next step is to just put it inside of your slicer software. If it's Bamboo Labs, then you can just drag that right in. You just go over to part 2, right click it, export. I'm going to call it Ring Keeper YT. And then inside of Bamboo Labs, you can just go over to import, find that Ring Keeper YT, And then what I did for it is just right click, auto rotate, arrange, and then selected 0.8, high quality, and printed that off.
This is the finished piece, and I think it came out pretty well for what it is. So the next step is actually assembling it on the chain. So I have the chain here, and all you have to do is just pass the end of it through those two 3mm holes that we made, which can be a little bit difficult, but there's enough clearance that it should be fine. And then you're going to have to take one of these little metal rings that should be included in your kit if you buy it from Walmart, and just thread that through the very end chain link. Take a little bit of patience, but confident you can get that. To close it up, I'm going to use a pair of needle nose pliers, but you can also just press really hard with your fingers and it should be good enough. So that's crimped down right there, those needle nose pliers. And I've already done the other side, so you can then just clip this on and you have a completed ring keeper right there. Here's it going on. So all you have to do is just wrap it around and then slides on just like that. And then can you take it off? It's the exact same motion, just in reverse. So super easy to use, easy to put on, easy to put off. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I think it's a great way to save a lot of money and also kind of learn how to design some more different stuff in CAD. But if you're interested in just downloading the files, they're free in the description, as well as all the CAD if you want to modify it to make the chain a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, or anything else. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching.